Okay. All right. Where is the? Okay, cool. I guess we're live. End stream. I don't gotta do anything. All right, cool. Let's see. Today I wanted to revisit some old work. I do not know what day it is. 03 something. Then it's what else is it? What's the rest of the day? Goodness gracious, I don't know. Today is the 15th of March. And I don't know what we'll call this, but let's call this screen reader test. Okay. So one of the goals that we've always had in mind for the Notebooks for All work is that the reading experience of notebooks should be better. And one of the things that motivated all of that was a video that Patrick did. So Patrick, the founder of IOTA School and blind programmer, and accessibility advocate and leader. He originally took a spin at notebooks with screen reader. So why don't we just let that YouTube video play for a little bit and maybe bounce around and see what kind of stuff he found on his first pass. So let's listen to Patrick for a little bit.
Hi all, this is Patrick Smith, Chief Learner at IOTA. And today we're going to be doing an accessibility analysis of the output, the HTML output from a Jupyter notebook. And the notebook we're going to be using is the some data from the cosmic origin spectrograph. And this is a output from a notebook put out by the Space Telescope Science Institute. And it's a pretty cool notebook, part of some pretty cool larger infrastructure around analyzing.
I'm going to speed you up a little bit, Patrick.
Hubble, James Webb.
Need
this is these notebooks.
ADD is testing me.
And I just want to say off the top of from the top that this is a cool notebook. I would say that the information in it is very broadly accessible to blind and visually impaired. Of course, pictures can be quite difficult. And there are some other issues with how Jupyter Notebook creates HTML output. And that is kind of what I want to focus on in this video. Not so much images, because I think images are kind of a special case. I think that there's ways images and charts and so on can be improved. However, maybe by programmatically creating alt text. But I think that's kind of a special case, kind of a special circumstance. So for now, I'm going to focus on some of the other HTML structures, and so we don't have the screen reader on
notebook.
Yet. And so we're just scrolling through the notebook. This is quite a long notebook. Has a good amount of both markdown cells, so this kind of prose text, headings, lists, all that stuff that explains the code, and it also has a good deal of Python code in it. So let's say this is a fairly good sample notebook. And if you want to take a look at this notebook, it's in the I'll put the link in the video description. And you'll also because this is kind of a pretty fast moving field, I want to make sure that I say the date. So today is February 27th, 2022. Maybe in the future some of these issues will be
so
resolved.
2 years ago.
And we can hope.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and
turn
on
the
screen reader,
project
and you're going to hear robots
started and made
talking.
progress.
And then we're going to go through and explore the notebook a little bit and just discuss some of the issues around how the HTML output in a Jupyter notebook does or does not sort of support accessibility for the visually impaired. And also just to throw it out there, so I myself am visually impaired. I have some low vision. Right now the screen reader is off. I could see shapes and stuff on the screen, and I do use a magnifier, not sort of support accessibility. And I do use a magnifier and a screen color reverser. So the screen color reverser has already been on. Maybe you've noticed that. The magnifier can zoom in and out. But for now, once we turn on the screen reader, we're going to use the screen reader primarily for interaction with this web page. Okay. So let's go ahead and turn on the screen reader. So we're going to be using NVDA, non-visual desktop access here on Windows. Okay. And so there's two things I usually do when going to a new web page for the first time, and to just get a little bit of a sense of how things are laid out. So the first one is interacting with the page by moving through the various headings on the page. And the other way I often interact is by tabbing. So using the tab button, which will typically bring you through different landmarks that exist on the page. So let's try the headings first, and then we'll try the tabs. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of a sense of how the page is laid out. We've already seen how the notebook is visually, but we'll get a little sense of it non-visually. So I'm going to press on NVDA. I'm pressing the H button, which lets me move through headings of any level. So I'm going to press the H button. Yep, and we need to
View vector Google Chrome. View vector heading level 1. Viewing TOS vector heading level 0. Introduction. Learning goals heading level 1.
So it looks like okay.
Viewing TOS vector heading level 1.
The first heading, and you'll see the visually that heading should be highlighted on the screen. Is
viewing TOS vector.
Viewing COS data. So that's the title for the whole notebook. Okay, and let's
learning goals heading level 1.
Learning goals. So assuming that this might be a list or something like that, it's a possibility. I'll just keep going through headings for a bit. That also was a heading level 1. So typically you'd only want one heading level 1 in the.
Okay, cool. Let's take a break there. We're going to be able to do that ourselves real fast. But one of the things that's going on here is Patrick's actually using a rendering.
Product development is brutal. But with me,
the notebook, let's see, did he put the link in here? Yes, he did put the link in here. So this link is somewhere on GitHub, and it's in COS notebooks. So let's go see if we can find this file, because what we want to do is we want to see what this looks like on nbviewer. One of the places that we want an accessible experience to show up is on nbviewer, which is this general service that we have for rendering notebooks from different places, like a URL, GitHub, Gist, or Hugging Face. We have this. Let's go see if we can hunt down this COS notebook that Patrick used here. Okay, so we're going to go and search for COS data, GitHub, and STSCI. Okay, so here are the COS notebooks, and do they have a... Okay, so these notebooks have been put in the Space Telescope Notebooks repo. So let's go there. What was the name of this that we had? Viewing COS data. Let's go and search for that. Will they... Oh, I don't know if they're going to let me search because I'm not signed in over here. But let's go to COS here. And then it's going to... I have a logged in version of Firefox that we can go and use here. So let's go to GitHub, STSCI, and then notebooks. Oops, nope, apparently not. COS data notebooks. Okay, I probably could have copy and pasted something. So these ones, and then they said they are hosted over in Space Telescope Notebooks repo. Okay, so now let's go and search. I did all that extra work so I could just keep this in the buffer. Let's get rid of this thing. And then that is in view data here. Okay, so here's our notebook. So this notebook here probably doesn't have the cells executed. I'm going to assume. Nope, it's not executed. And that's fine. It's going to lower some of the complexity here. But nevertheless, let's go and we'll still get most of the heading navigation and the tab navigation that Patrick experienced. But we want to go and compare this over on view data. Okay. So now let's see. All right, great. So now we have the same notebook that Patrick is working on, but we really want this over in Chrome because I got more accessibility goodies over here. And let me make sure I document that we're using a copy of this. So this is the COS data notebook rendered by nbviewer. And then our original is this one that Patrick left us. Copy link address. And let's go throw that over here. Oh, ew. Get rid of all that tracking. I don't want all that tracking. Okay, let's do that. They must have hidden a bunch of stuff from us there. Oh, now I've got this garbage pasted there. Okay, good. So now we have these two links that we can go and handle a little bit later. Great. So I wonder at this point, okay, so this is the file that Patrick was looking at. And then this is the file that we're going to look at. So right now, I'm not using NVDA. I am on Linux and I'm using Orca, which is not really a common screen reader, but if it doesn't suck on Orca, it's usually okay on other things. So let's go check out this heading thing that Patrick was talking about. So I'm going to start the screen reader.
Screen reader on. New data dash Google Chrome dash Tony frame. Viewing COS data paragraph marker learning goals. This notebook is designed to walk the user left paren, you right paren, through colon, 0. Introduction dash the escape.
Okay. So we are walking through things now. And let's give let's look for headings. Let's hit H.
H. Viewing COS data heading level 1. Paragraph marker. Link heading level 1.
Cool.
H. Learning goals heading level 1.
Okay, so we have two heading level 1s. That's going to violate WCAG right there. The reason that happens, that's a violation, is when we pull up a summary of the headings. So left shift Alt H.
Headings colon 40 items found new data dash.
We see all the headings here.
1.1 from cost DHP fig 1.6 3.
And the H2s and H3s are going to be nested appropriately, but the H1s are wind up out of order up at the top here.
Goals, 1.
So 1H1 is best practice. But heading navigation is great. But in this notebook here, the authors included that themselves. Heading navigation isn't something that like a template can necessarily control, so that's a authoring requirement. But I think one of the things that's really good about this notebook here is that it starts with a heading. This is the recommendation, basically.
Screen reader off.
If you look at the source of it, it doesn't start with code that's imports. It starts with a heading. So this is going to be probably one of the most accessible ways to start here. So let's get back to what Patrick was, how that's going to affect the way that we look at everything. So right now we're just going to kind of verify that we can hear and experience what Patrick is experiencing, and then we'll go and take a look at it over on nbviewer.
In your webpage, but it's not the end of the world if you have more than one. It's
still introduction heading level 1.
But it looks like all these headings are heading level 1 mostly.
Notes for new to Python /1. Reading in the vector heading level 1.
Yeah, these are all
Notes for new to Python / coding heading level 3.
This one's heading level 3, so we skip down.
0. Introduction heading level 1.
But
notes
so
for
it looks
new
like
reading in the vector 1.1. Investigating the vector basics at 1.2. Reading in the x1 d/x1 d
to navigate by here. So
fig 1.x2 2.1 plot 2.1.x 2.2 2.2 and
so you definitely can navigate. That's definitely something quite helpful using those headings to navigate. Then now, of course, wouldn't necessarily be available in all HTML pages that were the output of a Jupyter notebook. But in this case, the individual who created this notebook has provided a lot of headings. So the other thing I wanted to try was to use a tab to navigate. So I'm going to hit the tab button to see if there are any landmarks or anything that we can navigate by. So that's an alternate way to navigate around a page and get an overview of it.
Reading in the vector link. Investigating the vector basics link.
So,
reading in the x1 d/x1 d main vector link.
We're back at the top of the page, seems like. And it seems like these aren't so much landmarks as
that's a lot of tabs. It's a lot of tabs. So we're going to want to think about that when we write these documents. It is good that we've got headings for bearings, as we'll see a little bit later.
Link. link. List with 2 items. COS vector handbook link. COS instrument. List with 7 items. Greater than or equal. Math link. Link. Tutorial on downloading COS section 3 link. Normal time mode link.
We don't have a lot of landmarks in the document. So, and this is actually a kind of maybe one of the first issues we're running into with some of the HTML output from a Jupyter notebook is that by default, even though we do have these sort of natural landmarks
link
in the
level
form
2.
of
command. We can method. You can the proper unit list with 2 items. Bulletin /cm top out of meth command. Heading level 2 seconds. Was taken on 2009
but even though we have these kind of landmarks in the form of code cells and markdown cells and some other kinds of cells, we don't, the output from the HTML doesn't actually put it into landmark form. Okay, so so that's something to keep in mind. So I would like to try to find maybe I'll go back to the top of the document. And then I wanted to find a code cell and check out how the code is represented. Well, actually, first, since we have this, let's just have a look at this. So this looks like it is a table of contents. So something I noticed while tabbing through there is that it seems like this isn't represented as a list. There are lists. There are lists on this page, so I just skipped ahead to see if there are any lists on the page. And it does look like there are lists in the page. So that's a list with one item, which usually would. This one has 7 items. So it looks like we do have some lists.
So Patrick's hitting the I key to keep going from item to item, which is something that we'll explore too. It's a really effective technique and one that hopefully folks learn. But a list with one item isn't much of a list, is it?
List. So it looks to me like the lists that are created in Markdown in a Markdown cell are represented as HTML. It looks like that first used from another program to create the table of contents, so that could be another reason. It's not because most of these are links. You can something I'm observing here is that in general the Markdown parts of the notebook are fairly accessible. So we can navigate by heading. We can navigate by the normal text, the text that doesn't have any special markup, like paragraphs. You can kind of see which things have like emphasis and stuff like that. So the story about that is pretty good, it seems to me. Let's see if there are any tables in the notebook. So here, for example, is a table that is usually in a Jupyter notebook. There's a lot of output that is tabular because if you output a data frame and you run it, it will generate a in Jupyter notebook in the normal way you would anticipate with a HTML table. So you can navigate this. It's labeled. The columns are labeled. The fact that rows are
not a bad table.
Labeled. And you can move cell by cell, and you can move up, down, left, and right, etc. Here's a bigger table. It's quite a large table, but we can navigate through it using our the normal facilities given to us in NVDA for navigating in tables, which include you can then skip to the end of the table and move to the next item, which is very useful. So
the type information underneath of the columns is interesting. That needs to be somewhere. That's probably not the place for it, but it's a good idea to consider when we have to represent these.
Move out of the table, so that's quite useful. Now I wanted to find a large code block, and I think there's one up above.
It shouldn't be this hard to find a code block.
Unfortunately, it would be really nice to be able to tab to the beginning of the cell from here. So that having a landmark at the beginning of the cell where it says in, I feel like it would actually be quite useful. So I'm having to move by hitting the up button like a whole bunch of times, which is, maybe that doesn't seem like that big a deal, but especially when you don't know how long the cell is, that could be kind of a little bit stressful. If you say, for example, you have a cell with like 40 pieces of code, or sort of 40 lines of code, and then you keep pressing forward, and you're like, well, when do I get to the end of the cell? So it looks like when we hit a code cell, so that's the cell, that's the markdown before a cell. So here, it's when we hit a piece of code, first it says, it said in 7, so that is what it kind of says visually on the screen. It does seem to me like it could be useful to have some information on the cell, like maybe how many lines of code or something are in the cell, in addition to the normal run order that appears, the in 7 in brackets. I feel like a little more information that a sighted person would get visually.
Yeah, so we've started to add metadata summaries for the cells, and we'll acknowledge that soon. I'm glad that we've solved some real problems. It's exciting to verify those soon.
When you go into a code cell could be useful. And if we move forward into the okay, so it looks like we are now in the what is a pre-PRE or code block that is representing the code, and we can move. Seems we can move through it line by line, I believe. So I can go line by line in this, which is not too bad. And I can go character by character.
There's so many semantics that are lost when we show the code. We've got to find a way to recover those.
So that seems that could be worse. I'm going to try to leave the
could be better
try to skip all the code in it by like the way we did at the table.
Not in a container.
So unfortunately, that doesn't work. That is not so much a limitation with Jupyter Notebook export as it kind of is with how NVDA handles code and pre blocks of HTML tags, elements. But there might be a way for a Jupyter, the exporter in Jupyter, to make a difference there perhaps by wrapping the whole element in something that can be left, or using some fancy era values or something. So that would be really useful to be able to skip to the end of the code block without pressing the next button. Of course, if the code, if all the cells were landmarked, then that would also help with that a lot, because we could skip to the next to the end of the cell to the beginning of the next cell by pressing tab. So that would be very good. Now,
Blank. Table of FUV vector
yeah,
blank.
and it says blank for blank lines, which is really not
Table of
bad.
FUV indent blank. 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 Variance flat. Variance count.
And it
Variance
looks
speaker
like
next
it
blank.
is
Speaker blank.
telling me a little about indentation.
Blank. Up 7.
It's a little hard
Blank.
for me to tell
Blank. Variance flat. Variance segment. Text.
how
Indent
good
blank.
it is
Select
on the
one data.
indentation. I would like to make sure that the indentation is represented. It would be great to make sure that is information that is coming through. That might just be screen reader dependent, however. And then so I guess holistically here, I think that there's some good parts to this. So we, all the markdown code, the markdown in markdown cells is accessible. So if
That's because the authors did a good job.
someone uses writes semantic markdown, has a hyphen and a space, and to create lists or creates a table in markdown or does something similar, it seems like it will get exported correctly to HTML.
Don't misuse the markdown, though. That's the thing we learned.
It is broadly accessible, and if people are using headings in their notebooks, then that seems to come through pretty well. It is really kind of too bad that the individual cells aren't landmarked, especially since Jupyter Notebooks, by being cell-based, by having that cell-based paradigm, they definitely do seem to lend themselves to having
This might be adding cell navigation might be the easiest thing to mainline directly in the NB Convert and NB Viewer. But we'll show a demo about why it's better.
Landmarks at the beginning of cells. They're sort of like natural landmarks. It does seem like the summary at the beginning of where it says in 7, this kind of a little bit of a wasted opportunity. Like this, I feel like at the very minimum, it should tell you, okay, this is a code cell. And probably it should tell you what language the code is in. And then potentially it should also give a little more useful information, like how many lines of code are in the cell. And I also think maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing for there to be some more functionality at the beginning of the notebook. So at the very beginning. I don't know that this is necessarily, required, but it seems like it would be useful to know, as a blind or visually impaired coder or interested party looking at this webpage, like how many cells are there? Like how long is this? That could be useful information at the beginning.
We got that now.
That is.
That's awesome.
But for
that's
example,
been a real
this
hit.
Table of contents in it.
Hell yeah.
Maybe there could be more facility for creating that table of contents semantically, so that it's represented as a list and we can navigate it as a list. That would be great. So I feel like the story here is a little bit of a mixed one. It is HTML. The information is there to be.
I should have watched this video sooner.
Find a visually impaired person who's interested in this page, but
I thought I was doing original
maybe there
stuff.
Could be a few things here.
Just did what Patrick wanted.
And there's also, of course, the special case of visual output from libraries like Matplotlib. And
Outputs are so hard.
I do think that those are sort of a separate issue. Maybe could be dealt with in other videos or in other discussions. There's a lot of ways that could be tackled. It certainly is a pretty serious undertaking to make the images more accessible. But I think that there's probably some low-hanging fruit here in terms of HTML pages that are exported from Jupyter Notebooks, and that especially the landmark situation, but probably a few other things, could definitely be changed to make the output more accessible to the blind and visually impaired. So thank you very much. Hope to have more videos about accessibility in Jupyter Notebooks and in the data science stack. Thank you. Have a good one.
Crushed it. I love Patrick's videos. Check out the IOTA School playlist for a bunch more. There's a great one with Sarah Kane recently doing some sonification stuff. Patrick's done some auditing of large language model interfaces. Yeah, check it out. It's really cool to see the screen reader content being developed for advocacy purposes here. Yeah, that's great. We were able to see or kind of experience what Patrick would prefer. And we have a copy of that this document here. Length is a problem on this notebook. So let's say we took a look at the
Screen reader on. View
heading
data Google
navigation.
Chrome Tony frame. Viewing COS data learning goals. This notebook is designed escape.
So there's a lot of headings, right?
Page headings colon 40 items
40.
found dialog. Viewing COS data 1. Learning goals 1. 0. Introduction 1. 0.1. A 1-cell summary of this notebook's key points colon 2. Now returning to our more detailed walkthrough 3.
So there's like 3 H1s on this page.
Notes for
But this is a way to navigate, of course.
View data Google Chrome to escape.
But there's no way for a screen reader user to be in a classroom that says in the third cell or in the second code cell or in the first markdown cell. None of those landmarks are there. And we also don't get them over on nbviewer either. Let's see. Let's go.
Page down. GitHub.screen reader off.
Let's go back and get this notebook origin that we found. Okay, so view data is the name of the notebook. And we found that over on GitHub. And that's over in this Firefox here that we had. And we go back. And that's this notebook. Okay. So let's put that over here so that we can document it when I share this notebook later. And then we need the raw version of this file. So we can do that by clicking on raw, and now we have this link here, and then we can go and I never remember how wget works. Is it just wget? How's wget work? Wget a URL, and then where's it go to? So I want to give it an output file, and then we'll call this view data .ipynb. So we should be able to open up this locally. All right, let's go and see if that writes. Okay, did that work? Is it gonna tell me anything? Did nothing happen? Did something happen? Okay, maybe it's there. ls view data. Okay, looks like we have a notebook. Looks like we have a few of them actually. All right, so now we should be able to go and export one of these to our ally version. And then let's give it view data here. NB convert. No, of course not, because it's Jupyter.nb convert. So what we're going to get out of this is we're going to get a new version that has some of the features that Patrick was asking for. Great. That's awesome. That this is not the right thing. What's the challenge here? Notebook does not appear to be JSON. That's absolutely true, because I'm not using wget correctly. rm rf view data star. Okay. wget download file. I'm sure most people would just use LLM at this point. I'm not signed into anything here, so I don't really want to do that. Output. Anyway, I'm just gonna download. That's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna save this to downloads. Sure, fine. And then we know home downloads. Wait. Right. downloads, and then view data, and then we're gonna Jupyter, and yeah, this is the one we can rely on. Oh my god, I don't know what this shit is with Jupyter, but it really fucking gets me when this happens. But the undo buttons don't work, and it floors me because now I don't even know what I was doing at this point. Jesus Christ, that's so annoying. Like there's just been features added to Jupyter that over time they just get super brittle. We've been working on the thing for a while, and you get these bugs, and it's really frustrating. Cognitively speaking, it's very inaccessible. So I might as well save this variable, so I know that this is a file for later, huh? Goodness gracious. Don't like to, the quality has just gone down, and this is supposed to be a tool for like learning and literacy, and that is just completely anti whole purpose. So we can use this $sign notation here, and then maybe we can run this. Sick. Okay, cool. That's super cool. So that means that now we have a notebook that we can go and take a look at. So what I'm gonna do is pathlib. Yep. Let's go over here. TV. Okay, great. Let's not worry about those paragraph things. That's a bug I gotta sort out right now. Oops. There's a few things that are a little bit suspect down here that we gotta fix. Okay. All right. This is the wrong version in this document. Okay. I gotta go duck out over onto the right for a quick second. I will be back to the world. So I gotta oh great, yeah. So I've got to activate a different content environment, and that one is called P311. And then I need to pip install the templates that I've been working on there, because of how nbconvert stores the templates. Again, that development process is not going smoothly. And then we got to rerun this, and then ideally when we come back, we've got something that doesn't make me ick, and this is great. This is what we want now. Super cool. Super duper cool. Okay. So at this point here, let's go and get into a full screen. I don't know why it's I do know why. There's something stuck on it. Okay, great. So what was Patrick referring to? Okay, so one of the things that was tough for Patrick was there was a lot of tabbing in the beginning here. So one of the things that we've done is put the table of contents inside of something that can optionally be hidden. The best approach would be something that has arrow key navigation
Screen
instead.
reader on. View data Google Chrome Tony frame. Banner. Region table of contents. Left shift. Return. Collapse.
Okay, so let's collapse that for now. We're still going to run in the table of contents that the original author put in here. But now when we start tabbing, let's go. Actually,
Left shift. Leaving region. Full screen. Push button. Browse mode.
Let's tab to the notebook summary.
Tab. Region. Notebook summary. Notebook summary. Toggle button collapsed. Edit total cells 36. Code executed out of order 835 lines of code 0 outputs. Focus mode.
So we just heard an overview of the notebook, right? Because when a sighted person visits a notebook, they can measure the number of cells through a visual gestalt, but you can't do that in an audible way. So the way we do that is we make sure that this data is on the page, and when it's on the page, then it can be accessed by the ARIA label or the ARIA description. But this is some of the notebook information that would help. Like one of the specific problems would be I ran this notebook and there was an error somewhere for a non-visual user. They might spend 10 minutes getting to the end to find out that something was broken. Now, is that worth their time or not? So what can you elevate? What are the things that you see that should be made audible is a question that we tried to answer when we were building this design here.
Space collapsed.
So one of the things about accessibility testing is that you're often looking for a visual representation of a label that a non-visual user might have, and an audible label for a visual label that a sighted user might have. And one of the things that notebooks have lacked is a visual label for the cell number. So we've naively put that in here, but let's go to cell 1. That's going to be 2 tabs.
Tab. Leaving region. Table of content tab. Cell 1. Link. Markdown cell. Browse mode.
So now we know that cell 1 is a markdown cell, one of the things that Patrick was asking for, right? If we continue to tab.
Viewing COS data paragraph marker. Link heading level 1.
Okay, so we run into a heading level 1.
Tab. Learning goals paragraph marker. Link heading level 1.
The paragraph marker thing is my bad. Well, I got to fix that a little bit later. But, work in progress here.
Tab. Introduction. Link. Tab. A 1-cell summary of this notebook's key points. Tab. Reading in the data. Link.
Okay, so from this point, we're kind of in the middle of the cell. How would we get back to the beginning of the cell is something that Patrick had asked for in his demo. So if, in this case, all of our cells, since we have the cell number there, act as a reference for the beginning of the cell. So if we go and ask for the last list, we're going to go back a few list items, actually.
Left shift I, wrapping to bottom. Cell 80, link I, wrapping to top.
There we go.
Cell 1, link, okay. Markdown cell.
It took 2 buttons, but anyway, maybe I could have just hit I there, but here we are. We're at the top, we're at the first cell.
I, cell 2, link, markdown cell. I, bullet for an in-dash depth menu. I, cell 3, link, markdown cell. I, cell 4, link, code cell 56 lines of code.
So now we reached the code cell. And we know that there's 56 lines of code, which is something that Patrick asked for. I hope that sounds better to you all. Now let's continue to read forward a little bit.
Left. Cell 4, in none, highlighted. Number this code cell condenses the key material of the notebook into a single cell summary dot. Number 1 dot, import the necessary. Blank. Number this code cell 4, link.
So let's listen again. Let's listen to the transition between cell 4 and the code.
Cell 4, link, code cell 56 lines of code. In none, highlighted. Number this code cell condenses the key material of the notebook into a single cell summary dot. Escape.
So it says input highlighted. Now, when we run through this cell, we're going to, let's go to the next cell, and then let's go backwards, because of where we are in the cell here.
I, cell 5, link.
Okay, so now we're going to go up.
In none, highlighted. plt.save fig left paren quote dot slash fig line 0.1 line quick line plot dot png quote right paren.
Okay, great. So now if
left
we
colon.
Oops.
0.1 backslash n simple COSD 160M spectrum quote comma size equals 20 right paren number adds y-axis late view data dash s number this code cell condenses the key material of the notebook into a single cell. Save fig selected. plt.save 0.1 backslash n simple COSD 160M spectrum quote comma size
I don't know why it's
equals
reading from there.
When number adds y-axis label to the top panel x 0.set line label left paren apostrophe flux left number adds y-axis x1 dot set line label left apostrophe estimated dollar backslash number adds x1 dot plt now returning to in none highlighted. plt.save fig left paren now returning to in plt.tight line layout left paren right paren now returning to in plt.tight line layout left paren right paren plt.save fig left paren quote dot slash fig line 0.1 line quick line plot dot png quote right paren 0.1 backslash n simple COSD 160M spectrum quote.
Anyway,
comma,
let's
space.
go and find. Let's continue along. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to see how the outputs are represented.
Because
these cells actually haven't been
bullet,
executed.
You will frequently see exclamation points left paren, right paren or dollar signs left paren, dollar, right paren at the beginning of a line of code. Screen reader off.
Okay, let's take a quick break. This is a long notebook. One of the features of documentation, of textbooks, is being able to revisit specific places of meaning. If we turn the screen reader back on, we're going to keep I'm going to hit the I button. That means we're going to move through list items, and we're going to find how that lets us navigate cells. Then I'm going to show how the list items are represented from a summary perspective, and then even how the lists themselves are represented. So hopefully when we see and hear this, we can understand how this experience might be better for a user showing up who does use assistive technology. So let's kick off the screen reader again.
Screen reader on. New data dash Google Chrome dash Tony frame. Skip to main content. Link I. Cell 1. Link I. Cell 2. I. Cell 8. Link I. Cell 14. I. 3. From the Aven. I. Cell 23. Link.
So I'm cell 23. Some of the times I hit I, we found some intermediate Oh, wow. Hey, Khaled. Amazing. Yeah, super glad that this is sounding better. Cool. I didn't realize there was anybody here. Great. Yeah, so if we go and do a summary of all of the...
New Excel 22.
Summary of all of the
link heading level
items.
1. Left I. List items colon. 100 items found dialog. Cell 1 markdown.
So now we can find that you can navigate all of the items
Cell
with arrow keys here.
Cell 4 code.
We don't hear the
Cell
details
5
here,
Cell
but let's hit go to
Google
code.
Chrome dash Tony frame. Cell 4. Link. Code cell 56 lines of code.
So we get the lines of code when we eventually progress to the right place. Yeah, this is these are the improvements over for the high level navigation. So basically we've added some tab stops that ensure that folks will find a cell in the tabbing. So let's go over and okay. Cool, this thing's bugging out. I knew it was going to bug out at some point here. But let's see. Let's see if it catches back up.
New data dash Google Chrome dash. Let screen reader off.
Okay, cool. Let's go and spend a little bit of time on nbviewer. And then our goal is to kind of motivate for a new alternative template that will be a little bit easier to read here. So let's start with nbviewer and kind of consider this a first audit of this. I'm not really great at audits. I just know how to tear through things.
Screen reader on. Jupyter left new cast. No, down exit new py new Jupyter to get 7.2.3. Link. Tab. Notebooks. Link.
Okay.
Jupyter
So
notebook viewer dash Google.
there's a thing already. It doesn't.
Text unselected. Blank.
You can't get back to the original, to the beginning of the page. So let's tab from the URL here.
Tab. Bookmark this tab. Tab. To get missing image descriptions, open the context menu. Visited link.
That stinks. I don't know. This
Jupyter notebook viewer
link
dash
goes
Google
to
Chrome. Jupyter notebook
nbviewer.
viewer dash Google Chrome dash Tony.
So we should make that better. And then we've got like this toolbar navigation looking dingy here.
Tab. Jupyter. Visited link. Tab. FAQ. Link. Tab. View as code. Link. Tab. Python 3 kernel. Link.
I don't know where that takes you. Maybe back here.
Tab. View on GitHub. Link.
Okay, so we can go GitHub.
Tab. Execute on binder. Link.
Okay, binder sometimes works. For this one, no, it
Tab.
won't.
Download notebook. Visited
Easily.
link.
Okay, and we can download it. Great.
Tab. Notebooks. Link. Tab. Notebooks. Link. Tab. CAS. Link. Tab. View data. Link.
This should have some kind of grouping around it, something that says that these things are connected. These are breadcrumbs. There's APG patterns for these things, ARIA practicing guides that we should be using. Yeah, let's keep going.
Tab. Introduction. Link.
Okay, so in all of the other ones, I think we tab to the headings. This one doesn't get the heading improvements as much. But let's see if we can navigate with headings.
H0. Introduction. Heading level 1.
Okay.
H0.1. A 1-cell summary of this notebook's key points colon. Heading level 2.
Okay.
H. Now, return H. AH. 1.1. Investigating the 1.1. Investigating the data dash. Heading level 2. Basics. Heading level 2.
So we're
we
gonna
want
read
to learn
it.
the basics about this file, then read in the data. We can learn a great deal about our data from its primary fits header left paren, C cell below right paren dot. In left bracket colon. Number, make sure these file path variables point
See,
to
there's
the
not.
escape.
See, it says to see the
Notebook,
cell
dash Google Chrome
below.
dash Tony.
I'm not gonna hang up on the sensory part of that word, but the assistive technology doesn't know that it's a cell below. In our newer implementation, it does, which means that for assistive technology, we actually have a meaning for a cell. Right now, we only use visual cues to represent cells. The only way to
Leaving.
the only way to know that you're in a new cell is you have to find where it says in left bracket, right bracket, which is not necessarily correct. So in the cases of executed notebooks, I could go and probably share one from my own drafts.
Space. Selected. List draft. Compute semantically meaningful return. List box.
Okay.
Number, make sure these file path variables. Tab. Return. Collapsed. Leaving region. Notebook summary. Toggle button collapsed. 17 total cells to code executed in order. 175 lines of code to outputs.
So I got 2 code cells in here. So I can go and I'm going to open up.
Loading. Please escape. Banner. Region I. Describe the issue in the escape. I. DevTools dash to escape. Navigation 2048 0 at 0. Cement leaving region. Site cement is
I
collapsed.
don't know what that was.
I. Tab. Cell 1 I. 1 per I. 2 operable notebooks.
My screen reader is
notebook
busted, I think. I think that's what that message was. So it's not doing what it needs to.
TLDR. Link cell 2. Link. Marked on cell. Tab.
Okay, let's get to a cell that has code.
Tab. Standard Jupyter keyboard short tab.
Maybe there's no code. Oh, I think I hit all the code. I hit all the code.
Cell
We won't see
50
it.
tab. Tab. Accessible authoring practices. Link.
Anyway, deal with that another time. But these things are keyboard navigable.
Bullet outputs. White bullet on visual representation. Bullet reference implementation. Wrapping to top. Cell 1. Visit Cell 1. Visited 1 perceivable 2 operable notebooks. 3 bullet.
Cool. Anyway, yeah. So we've got some better cell navigation there, and that's one of the things that would be really helpful to expose to folks who are sharing notebooks from like GitHub or Hugging Face. Some of these things might be able to easily land in the standard template, but it would be really nice to have like a template that was specifically designed for assistive technology users.
Presentation.
That ultimately was labor reducing.
TLDR. Link heading level 2. App view data. Page tab.
Okay.
Left alt.
Turn this off real
Screen reader
fast, and let's recap what we've done so far. So we've taken a look at nbviewer. We've kind of gotten a coarse understanding of that experience. Here's another notebook that I was looking at a little bit earlier. So we looked at this really long notebook, and basically if the authors weren't diligent about writing headings, it would be really challenging for assistive technology users to navigate their way through a notebook the way that sighted users may expect to. So the new template that we went through from the Notebooks for All nbconvert Ally work provides some of these like missing features that we can control. There are a lot of things we can't control, like the outputs. That's a different problem. But in this case, it seems like we are having improvement. It seems like we actually have some features in these things that have been desired in Colab. We found that during the Notebooks for All call earlier this week. I'm probably going to stop there and I'll clean up this notebook. Let me go and clean up this notebook right now, actually. So we downloaded a copy of the original COS data that moved, that is in the Space Telescope notebooks repository. Okay, we'll need pathlib here. So this was a shout out to Patrick. So Patrick's first screen reader demo of navigating notebooks. I don't really think people were doing screen reader audits on video before Patrick. He's really patient with getting this stuff set up. I am not. nbviewer. So this is the nbviewer version of the COS notebook. And then this is the GitHub version, right? Oh, we could have I wonder if GitHub has done anything for cell navigation. GitHub version of the COS notebook. So that's something that we can actually deal with, right? Because it's interesting. GitHub's doing stuff with like table of contents, which is a thing that Notebooks for All identified we needed for notebooks. And there's some good examples of, so this is the STSCI. So see, it's interesting, right? Because the same notebook has this version of COS notebook. Same version of notebook has 3 different representations right here, plus the 4th one that I just showed from my demo. So in theory, we could go and add that as an iframe. And there we convert it. So we started by watching Patrick's first screen reader demo, navigating notebooks, and considering how these experiences apply to the current NB convert work, ally work. Great. So awesome. So this is a notebook I'll share a little bit later underneath of the video. When I put it out there, there's the different versions of the notebooks. We've downloaded this thing. Actually, why don't I just... Oh yeah, I forgot. I got really mad that that my data went away. That's got to stop happening. Man, I'm super embarrassed about this one issue that I contributed to one time. There was a new feature that was added, and my notebooks were going away, and I had a very bad reaction to it and lost a little bit of control and probably said some things I didn't want to. But these experiences can be like really traumatizing sometimes, and especially when you're doing knowledge work. I don't think we consider the severity of these choices very much, especially for learners. Yeah. Anyway, so now we can run this. We got a short notebook, and what is this though? Export a advanced or a screen reader specific, export a version of the notebook designed for a screen reader. Cool. So the goal is I'm gonna take this issue, I'm going to take out some clips from it, and I'm going to open up an issue on nbviewer to see if we can't get this as an extra endpoint so that those folks needing assistive technology, maybe they go to nbviewer and they tab once and they get something useful instead of no image description or whatever. And then maybe they tab twice and they're like, hey, here's a version designed for assistive technology, because a lot of keyboard users are going to discover that. And then they can go and choose and have this much more assistive version, and perhaps it becomes a steady tool for them. But didn't I say I was going to go and take a look at what GitHub did? Yeah, let's do that real fast. It won't take too long. Let's open up GitHub here. And let's see. Let's do, let's turn on screen reader.
Screen reader on. Notebooks /.
Okay. So, headings.
H. Expand file tree collapsed push H. Breadcrumbs heading level 2 H. View data dot in heading level 1. H. Latest commit heading level 2. H. History heading level 2. H. File metadata and controls H. Viewing COS data heading level 1.
Okay, so now we're finally in the notebook.
H. File metadata and controls heading level 2.
Okay, so the GitHub uses headings that show up before ours, which is probably okay. But from if the goal is to read the document, there might be better places for that.
H. Viewing COS data heading level 1. H. Learning goals heading level 1.
Thanks for being here, Khaled. I appreciate you hanging out.
H. 0. Introduction heading level 1. H. 0.1. A 1-cell summary H.
Okay, so now we're in the cells.
More detailed walkthrough heading level 3. H. No AAH. 1AH. H. 1.3. The association left paren heading level 2. As in, right paren I. 1. Reading the NVDA. 2. From the 0 I. 3. From the determine. 3. I. 2. From I. Bullet. Also note that I. Bullet plotting an entire segment I. Bullet before I. Bullet the letter I. 1. Filter out all I. 3. Plot the flagged data in another color to see where the removed data is. Caps a semicolon. 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 No 2. No 3. Plot the flagged data semicolon.
Okay, my screen reader's probably been on for too long at this point, and it is not doing what I expect it to do.
Leaving list. In left bracket, right bracket, colon. Number your answer here. 3.2. Bidding heading level 2.
Okay, so GitHub doesn't do anything special either. They don't have any special navigation features. They do have
tooltip heading level notebook/new data dot left alt screen reader off.
I was kind of expecting them to have a heading navigator, right? Because if you go to a README file or you go to a code file here, you get this is where let's go back and see if we can find it. Okay. So there isn't a table of contents that shows up on a notebook, but there could be a table of contents that shows up on a notebook because it is just Markdown. So there's nothing specific that GitHub has done to consider notebooks. But there's a lot of these out there, and they could be a lot better. So I guess that's not bad. Basically, I think that, let's see. Let's look inside here real fast and see what the source code looks like. It might just... so this is using the standard nbconvert format, right? So in this example here, in the notebook container, if we made this a row list... and then we made each cell a role list item, then we would have navigation, and that would show up to the screen reader users there. But again, we don't know if list navigation is the hit. It probably is. It seems like the right one. Maybe it makes sense to deploy it and see how it feels. Great. So nbconvert is in a few places that's converting these notebooks, which is why this problem of notebook accessibility is so generally interesting from a content perspective. Nice. I think that's good. That was a good jam today. Thanks to whoever was able to hang out, and be on the lookout for me to post this with the notebook at the end.